This show contains profanity, advice you should never follow, humor that you might not enjoy. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Do not try this at home.
Greetings, yellow blazers, blue blazers, Bill Bryson lovers, Bill Bryson haters, potty mouths.
Triple crowners.
Triple crowners.
Double triple crowners.
Ooh, well, this week, speaking of double triple crowners, we've got one. We have the famous Hawkeye, over 17,000 miles hiked, and he's still out there now.
You said that like he's still out there. Hasn't been taken down yet.
Yes.
Hide your kids. Hide your wives. Hide your husbands too.
They hiking everything out there.
He's hiking everything up in you.
Oh, man. Well, we had a chance to catch up with Hawkeye at the Telluride Ride Festival before he went in. And here is our interview. Should I say more? Should we say more than that?
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hawkeye.
Hey, Pox Holiday.
How you been?
I've been good, man.
Of course you have.
I'm on the Colorado Trail right now.
Oh, you're on right now? I thought you were back home.
Yeah, well, I'll be back on a Monday. I left. I started my expedition already, and I left the trail to come back here for the Ride Festival in Telluride.
Right.
David Burns playing tonight.
Oh,
Cake.
nice.
Drive-by truckers. When I heard the lineup, I said, I have to have a ticket. So,
Oh, yeah. Nice.
and I've actually traveled thousands of miles to come back for festivals anyways.
Well, yeah, you live in the right place to do that.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice. Well, Puss is also on the line, just to let you know.
Hey, Hawkeye.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
98 was your first year, correct?
Well, I started hiking the trail in '82, but I actually finished in '98. So I didn't through hike in '98.
Oh.
Although I did most of my miles in '98.
Yeah.
And people are confused by that because while I was working in corrections, I was hiking for my sanity. So I had actually completed from Dartmouth to the High River in Virginia. And then what I did is I went to Springer and started in 98, and when I got to that High River point, I jumped off the trail and I did a bunch of trail magic and did a canoe trip and a bunch of other things. And then I got back on the trail at Dartmouth and ran into people that thought I had still been hiking, and
Oh, wow.
so even though I considered 98 my class, I did most of my miles that year. I've been wanting to do this, so I'm glad we hooked up now, especially on this fundraiser hike that I'm doing. And
yeah. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the fundraiser, that'd be cool.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. In '07, I hiked the Continental Divide Trail, and I started. I saw some kids raising money and skiing laps here in town, and I thought, well, I do a 5.5 month hike. What if I put up a website and see if I can generate money for my favorite charity here in town?
Right.
And it was hugely successful. And since then, I've done the Pacific Crest Trail. I've raised over $35,000 for them. But I've also been intrigued with this idea of friends of mine with disabilities joining me on the trail. And it hasn't worked out yet, except for this year where it's finally working. And another thing I've always been intrigued with is walking from someplace right to my door, a long distance, and, not have to fly back home or hitch or anything. Just literally walk back to my door. And so I'm accomplishing 2 of those goals this summer, and it's great. We started the hike on July 6th, and my buddy Steve Ackerman, who's paralyzed, joined me for 3 days on a hand cycle.
Oh, wow.
Off-road hand cycle. that he pedals, with his arms. And we had a great time. It was pretty interesting, and we captured it on film. And I think today it just went up, or later on today, the episode is going to be on the website, which has just recently been updated.
It's a beautiful website. What's the name of the website?
GoHawkeye.com.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, the guy that joined you, is he the guy that's on the yellow bike?
Yeah, he's on that yellow bike, right?
Yeah.
That's called a one-off. It's an off-road hand cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And this particular guy, Steve, has actually hand cycled around the world. Yeah, pretty interesting. He started hand cycling in, I think it was probably 98, somewhere around that.
Wow.
And actually, it was 88 in the late 80s, and in 95 he went around the world. That's right. And so I go back to the trail here tomorrow, in fact.
Nice.
And pick up where I left off. And next week, a blind friend of mine is going to join me around, and we're going to attempt 2 14ers. So he's going to hike with me for a week.
Oh, wow.
And at the end of the week, we're going to attempt Mount Massive, which is the second highest peak. And then the next day, we're going to attempt Mount Elbert, which is the highest peak in Colorado.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah, and we'll be filming it, too. So all your listeners can just tune in to GoHawkeye.com and watch each episode as they unfold.
Now, you've already done 2 movies prior to this, correct?
Yeah, well, should give you some background. When I raised that money the first time on the Continental Divide, just personally promoting myself, I was able to raise over $17,000. And the cool thing was they allowed me to have a say in how that money's used. So I was able to take a portion of that money and build a whole audiovisual department. And I didn't want to nickel and dime it, and I wanted to do it with volunteers. So my partner, my filming partner, Craig Stein, came through the door as a regular volunteer in our program, and since then we've hooked up, and we've done 2 movies now that have got accepted at film festivals. Oh, Puss, I got to tell you right now, I'm in an Italian festival in the Dolomites.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That's awesome.
this weekend, Adventure Film Festival. I think it's adventurefilm.com. Chose our film, selected our film, and it's playing in their big festival right now. Wasn't able to go. Too low of a budget,
Yeah, a little bit of a budget. Well, I think you're doing something pretty cool instead right now.
Just to get back to my hike, so I'll be on foot for that portion, and then I go back on the bike for a portion, and I'll be joined by other people that are paralyzed that make their way on bicycles, off-road hand cycles, and even we're doing an episode of responsible ATVing, too, for people with disabilities.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
And then later on in the hike, almost near the end, I'll be doing a big horseback segment, too. So this whole hike is to promote accessibility in the backcountry for people with disabilities and demonstrate how they do it.
That's amazing.
So.
Yeah, it's tough to look at your website and not get a little misty-eyed, like with all the amazing stuff you've done with people and for people. It's really, really, really cool. Could you give a little background as to what you did prior to hiking?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got a job almost by accident in the Department of Corrections, state of Connecticut, and this was back in 1975. I was fresh out of college and looking for a job, and darn if they didn't call me up and offer me a job. So I took it. Never thought I'd be doing it the next, year or month or anything. I was like, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was for me, and I was pretty good at it, and I survived 20 years doing it. And through that period, I used to have to hit the trail to kind of decompress, and I found the Appalachian Trail was perfect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I worked mostly with young men, young gangbangers, like 17 to 21. I used to do breakdance contests on the day room floor back in the 80s, rapping contests. I even had a garden outside the unit where I taught these guys how to grow vegetables and, process them and stuff. So, but I needed the trail. I found I needed a trail, and sometimes my coworkers would say, "Hey, Hawkeye, about time to hit the trail, isn't it?" I've been getting a little too crazy sometimes behind those bars. When I talk to my correctional friends, they bring up all these stories, and I can't remember them.
Well, the one story that do you mind telling us about your last day?
Oh, my last day. Well, yeah, I was I had gotten into an argument with the deputy warden about a month before, and he decided to throw me down in the worst block for my last 2 months, but it was like throwing Bear Rabbit into the briar patch, I was down there, and then, I had those guys whipped into shape in a short period of time, those convicts, and, we used to have some fun down there.
Yeah. And
I had a little workforce, and, when it was your turn to go home, we used to have we call it a little blanket party,
Right.
A bunch of your friends would jump you and, throw a blanket over you and just pound on you a little bit. Nothing serious. Nobody ever got hurt, and it was just all in good fun. And they said, Mr. Johnson, when you leave, you're going to get yours, And I said, well, man, bring it on. I dish it out. I can take it. And so my last day, I came to work, and I was dressed in this crazy uniform. It didn't make sense, and I had a camera with me, and, you would think these guys would notice something unusual about this picture. I took everybody's picture, during the lunch. They're all posed up, and you know how they like to, be little gangsters in front of the camera and little rappers. So, I nobody figured out a thing until I got everybody's attention, and I made sure that the sally port door was open. That you come into the block, you have to go through one door and then into another, sort of a they call it a sally port. So I made sure that inside door was open, and I stood in the day room floor and I got everybody's attention, which is an unusual. Yes, and I want everybody's attention. They all looked at me, and I said, "You guys are left," as in left behind. And it took a second. They all looked at each other. They were spread across the day room floor, and then all at once, all together, they rushed me, man. They came at me, and I turned and ran, and I jumped through that glass door, and I slammed it shut just as they all smashed up against it like flies, and they were all screaming and yelling at me, and I was giving them the finger, and they were beating on the door, and man, I walked out of that unit, I felt on top of the world, man. I just felt like this is the greatest day ever.
Could you give us a rundown of your resume?
Okay. So I completed the Appalachian Trail in pretty much sections in 98. Some people thought I thru-hiked, but I started and finished, and I had already done a big middle section. Then I went on, in 99, I went on to hike the Colorado Trail, and I decided to make Colorado my home. I moved to Telluride, Colorado. And then 2000, I went out and hiked the Pacific Crest Trail. It actually took me 6 months because I was in the old AT mode,
Yeah.
And with, learning about weather windows, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
But I had such a good time, and I kept thinking about the AT that I went back in 2001 and I thru-hiked the AT because I wanted a true thru-hike experience, the AT. Right. And that was also when I started doing trails for the second time, and I found out that I was much more relaxed on the second trip. They were still about discovery. It was still about all new things, meeting new people, but you could reconnect with people that you already knew as well from the first time. So You mentioned Professor and Peace Pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Professor being, a two-time Grand Master of the AT,
Of course.
he was savvy enough to snatch me off the trail in the Shenandoahs. He actually ambushed me and threw me in his little Volkswagen Beetle, and we went to his house for a couple days. And then he dropped me back on the trail. So things like that, I really appreciated the second time around.
Yeah.
Let's see what happened after that. Well, I was nervous about the CDT. I guess I felt I needed to still, improve my skills. So I actually took 6 months in Australia and New Zealand and hiked around and used map and compass and was really off the grid. And in 2003, I felt I was ready to take on the Continental Divide Trail.
Yeah.
And I was northbound, and I got up into the Bob Marshall Wilderness in late September, and there was so much snow, I just decided I wasn't having any fun, and I went home.
Oh, wow.
Took the bus all the way home. I said, I'll come out here next year and mop it up, which is what I did. I went out in 2004 and mopped up that last 200 miles. So I was actually a Triple Crown in 2004.
Oh, cool.
But I didn't really report it at that time. In 2005, I hiked the Arizona Trail, and that kicked my butt, 800 miles. And it inspired me, believe it or not, to try the Continental Divide Trail again.
Oh, wow.
Said, it can't be that hard. But it's kind of funny comparing an 800-mile trail to a 3,000-mile trail. So in 2007, that's when I started my first fundraiser hike. And I started in Mexico, and I walked here to Telluride for the Bluegrass Festival.
Oh, nice.
And after the Bluegrass Festival, I jumped right on a plane here in Telluride. I flew up to Kalispell, Montana, and a buddy of mine got me on the Canadian border above Glacier, and I started hiking south. And 3 months later, I was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and I hooked a ride down back to Telluride for the Blues and Brews Festival. Got a ride back to Steamboat, connected the dots, and finished the Continental Divide Trail for the second time. Let's see. By this time, I was married. No, I got married in 2009, so that's when I started hiking the PCT again for the second time. And I decided to break it into 3 parts, 3 states instead of, I just didn't want to be away from home that long, So
Yeah.
I knocked off California in 2009, Washington in 2010, and Oregon in 2011, and completed that second Triple Crown.
Wow, that's amazing.
Double Triple Crown. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
Hey, and speaking of that, what is your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Triple Crown times 2.
Yeah.
at Triple Crown times 2.
Yep.
So let's see. Not too many people in that category. I know Lint just got in there again. Clint Bunting. I don't know if you know him. But there's a pretty small group in the double Triple Crown category.
Are there triple crowners?
Yeah, I know a Triple Crown, a triple. Nene DeSeal, Let It Be, Neen. He goes by a couple different handles. He's actually back on the PCT this year to clean it up. So he's done it. He's on his 4th PCT.
Wow.
but he didn't know if he was going to go for another triple. I say the same thing, but never say never, right?
Right, exactly.
Never say never, but there's always another festival and there's always another trail.
The trail's not going anywhere.
Sure isn't.
And I might do that. I think out of all of them, the CDT is my favorite, just because it combines aspects of both other trails. And, the whole logistics and route finding portion really appealed to me.
Yeah.
And plus, I live here in Colorado, so I could do it in 2 sections.
For
I think that might be a good way to do that.
I was gonna say, when I was on the AT, and I kept thinking like maybe someday I'll go for a Triple Crown. It was sort of a pie in the sky sort of thing, and when I got off the AT, I thought, the Appalachian Trail feels like home to me. I think if I ever had the window to do another long trail again, I'd just want to do the AT over and over. And I'm wondering, like, what are your big differences between all of the other trails? Like, what are your favorite pieces of each one?
I can answer that pretty easily. And you know something, I always think about doing the AT again, too, because, I mean, I think that's the most fun you're ever going to have in your life, really.
Oh, yeah.
And you bond, and I mean, the weather and everything is just, you know, that's such a unique experience. But I consider the AT to be the most physically demanding of the three trails.
All right.
You know, less graded switchbacks. It's more up and down. A lot of rocks you're scrambling on, and that sweat is just dripping off your nose all the time. I wish I had $1 for every drop of sweat on the AT, but I'd donate it all. But you know, then you go out to the Pacific Crest Trail, and you know, it's all graded for pack animals, so it's a long traverse, you know. But the vistas and the grandeur of it are pretty amazing. However, it's burning up over the years. So I did it 10 years later from the first time, and it's just sad to see some really beautiful parts that were oasis, you know, and now they're just charred sticks.
Yeah.
So the trail is burning up rapidly. So anybody out there going to do the PCT, do it as soon as possible.
Do it soon, okay.
And then the Continental Divide, like I said, the Continental Divide is a tough one. I mean, it's you get your own route. I did it solo both times. I know a lot of people do it as a group for, you know, just more eyes are better than two.
Right.
But I just like, especially the second time, you know, you get to a road pass and you could go into, say, Wisdom, Montana, right? And I've done that. And it's a little town. It's hard hitching out of there. Not that great, you know, but back in the same pass, you could go to the west and go into Salmon, Idaho, you know?
Yeah.
So my second time, I usually try to make a different choice like that so I can see it all. And, you know, you hear stories, and I like to go check out the situation to see what I think about it. You know, a Trail Angels place, for instance, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go and find out what I think the real story is. I just go to see for myself. So that trail angeling is pretty interesting. I try to, I don't know, I sample it, but I don't get hung up on it, you know.
Yeah.
I think it can create entitled hikers. And,
Yeah.
You know, I like just the pure trail magic that happens, you know, the serendipitous stuff.
Yeah.
Talking
I
about
don't know
that earlier
if you
this
can hear the music just started. That's Hazel Miller singing gospel right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know.
We can't hear it.
I'm down by the river, so it's a little far off, but
Tell us again, what festival are you at right now?
I'm in Telluride, Colorado at the Ride Festival. It's right in our town park, and I encourage everybody to visit Telluride when you get a chance, because it's the most beautiful spot in the world.
Yeah, you put up some amazing pictures on Facebook and things like that. I'm always jealous. It's like, and it seems like you're always dressed as a pirate.
Well, you know, I'm the head pirate here in town, and I do some an annual fundraiser party now too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's called the Scallywag's Ball, and you know, it's music and auction and stuff like that, and we raise money for the Elk Scholarship Fund. We give $4,000 away every year to local high school seniors going to college.
Oh, wow.
So I'm doing that too, because I'm the scholarship chairman at our local Elks Club.
You mentioned a little while ago. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, while I'm on this kick too, you know, I cut my hair every 3 or 4 years for Locks of Love.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I inspire 12 or 15 other people to do it, and we have a big event, you know, with music and barbers. They cut the hair, and we bid off who gets to chop off the ponytails, and that's how we raise money.
Nice.
So we give Locks of Love. And, you know, they make prosthetic hair pieces for usually kids that have permanent hair loss. So your question might be, what are they doing with my hair?
Like, that's the oldest little kid I've ever seen.
what beautiful little girl wants silver hair, you know? They use all the hair. What they don't use, they auction off to other wig makers. They sell off to other wig makers.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
So I'm sure they're selling my hair. It's good hair, though.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you compared the Arizona Trail. You said it was more difficult than the CDT. You mind kind of expanding upon that?
Well, I would just have to say that the water sources are pretty tough on the Appalachian Trail. I mean, they're tough on the Continental Divide, too, but there's some unique situations where you're scraping stuff out of cow ponds. The flora is trying to kill, cat claw ripping at you, and cactuses and things, and then things like scorpions and Gila monsters and that kind of crap has an element too. So it was pretty challenging, and I felt like I was ready to take on the Continental Divide Trail again.
Yeah, I remember when in 2003, you and I exchanged a few emails because I used to work in New Mexico, and we were trying to get up with you, and I was contacting you in June, and you were like, I'm way north of there at that point in time. But yeah, I remembered. I was like, I can remember it was either 2000 or 2003, and then I remember you guys hiked the PCT in 2000, like, because weren't you out there with Flutterby and a few other people and Fanny Pack?
Oh well, I actually drove Flutterby out to the trail, or I met her out there at one point. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because we went to the kickoff party.
Yeah.
But I didn't hike with her on that year. Yeah, that's a lot of people from that 2000 year have gone on to write books and things, and also become pretty well-known people like Ron that does the Six Moon Designs, and Henry Shire, who was out there. All these cottage industry equipment makers. A lot of them hiked in 2000. So I don't know. I think 98, 99, 2000 was some pretty pivotal years in long distance hiking.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned about the difference, like the sweating on the AT. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but I met, oh gosh, I just blanked on his name, Scott, the guy who's hiked the PCT the most.
Scott Williamson.
Scott Williamson. Yeah, we met him because
he's a good buddy of mine. Yeah.
He and my wife and I hiked the first 200 miles of the PCT in 2003, and we met him like on our second or third day out. And he was like standing there waiting for us, like, at the top of it. Like, he saw us coming and he stopped, which, as hot as it can be. And he starts asking us if we had seen somebody. He said no. And then he asked us where we were from. And we said, we're from North Carolina. And he was just like, oh, gosh. So here's a guy who's thru-hiked the PCT, 110 degrees, exposed sun all the time. He's hiked it, 6-7 times. And he's like, I'm never going back to the East Coast. And I'm like, why is that? And he's like, humidity.
Humidity is right, and then man. I'll tell you.
And then we're sitting there looking for, jugs of water. And I'm like, I kind of would take humidity right about now.
Scott's a really great guy, and I've known him for a while, and he always takes the time to talk to people. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing. I remember in 2000, that was the first year that he was attempting a flip-flop.
Yeah.
In the same season, right? And so my whole thing was I just wanted to get out of California before I ran into Scott Williamson, right? and sure enough, man, I was like 2 days in Oregon, and here comes Scott, and he stopped and we sat down and started talking, and he's like, do you think you're going to make it, and I had this ratty old hat on. I put on a little bravado. I said, well, I'm not too worried about me, but I don't think this hat's going to make it the whole way. We had a big laugh, and then 2009 on his record-breaking hike with Adam Bradley, I hear these guys coming. I was expecting them, I kind of been tracking them. I knew I was ahead of them. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, man, I hear these loud voices coming down off the side of this hill, and they're mother effing this and effing that, and so I just hung out. I hit off the side of the trail a little bit. They come walking by, and I know them both well. I was just like, Jesus, what a bunch of potty mouths, I hiked with them for a little bit, and I was like, I'm just trying to slow you guys up, so if you don't set the record, you can blame it on Hawkeye.
Because that's the year they did it, like, completely unsupported, like they walked to resupply,
unsupported,
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I actually stayed at his house in Truckee when I went through with his wife, Michelle, picked me up, ran me back to the trail, and he was still out. He was out on the trail doing something else then, so he's always hiking that trail.
Good God, man! I couldn't remember the first. I think the first time I had like any trail magic was really truly like in Virginia somewhere when Fanny Pack started putting those Simply Sodas into the streams.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like I had lots of trail magic. Like I actually had an inordinate amount of small trail magic, but I still think that my two favorite ones was going to collect water and there's just a can of Coca-Cola floating in the stream and you're like, oh, I don't even know where the nearest road crossing is, but this is just manna from heaven. This is amazing. And it,
Sure.
like you're looking around going, I haven't passed anybody in so long. I haven't seen anybody. I don't know where this came from, but I'm happy about it. And I'm going to sit under this shade tree and drink it.
That's awesome magic. If you see, there's a picture of me slugging some whiskey on my website. And hippie Skywalker wrote, don't fall in the campfire. And this is a reference to 98 Gordo's party. Gordo, a few days into the hike, and this guy Gordo from Atlanta would throw this big, giant party, keg of beer, food,
Wow.
all kinds of stuff going on. And I made a mistake of getting into the Jim Beam, it was on ice, so I was slugging it down, and the next thing I know, we were all standing around this fire, and I stumbled. I sort of stumbled, and I fell, but I caught myself, and everybody said, dude, you hit your head. You hit your head on the fire, And I was like, no, I didn't hit my head. I'm okay. They said, no, we saw you. You hit your head, and now I started getting a little bite. I was like, I'm fine. And I go walking up and find my pack and proceed to roll around on the ground as sick as a dog. I left the next morning at 5:30 in the morning because I was so embarrassed about, getting so drunk.
Yeah.
And I went up the trail a little bit and went off the side of the trail and fell asleep. So people left Gordo's and went north, and they never saw me. So the rumor was going around that I hit my head on the campfire and wandered off, and nobody had seen me for a while.
Oh, no.
I made sure I didn't fall in the fire the other night.
Well, Hawkeye, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
I was on the AT when I was 25 years old, and, I feel like for a 25-year-old, relatively fit person, it's hard on the body. And even when I got home, for maybe the next year or so after I got home, things like, bending down to get something, or, if I'd go for a run, my knee was maybe a little bit extra irritated or whatever. I think my feet spread out, and it's taken a couple of years for them to kind of come back together the right way, the way that they normally were. And I'm just wondering, after this much hiking, I mean, how many miles do you have behind you at this point-ish?
Oh, I have actually over 17 now.
Yeah.
1,000.
Okay, so 17,000 miles. Like,
Right.
how's your body holding up? Like, is it one of those things that you're just in good hiking shape and your body's doing pretty good because it's happy and it's moving? Or
do you
have some issues?
They say that Hawkeye doesn't survive the trail. He thrives on the trail.
Right.
I do thrive on the trail, and the other thing is I think I keep moving, so I never stop. When I get done hiking, I come back home and I ski 120 days a year.
Yeah.
Okay. 120 days through the season, and then, that involves hiking terrain, and that keeps you in a certain pretty good level. And
Sure.
when I'm not hiking, I'm riding my bike. I'm a fanatic bike rider as well. So I just keep moving, and you can see from my timeline, I just kind of roll from one project to the next. So, I have my aches and pains on the trail, and it usually takes me about 3 weeks to kind of get trail hard, I call it, where I can actually sleep relatively good. But the first 3 weeks of any hike, I have to really listen to my body, and the thing about me too is you'll probably see me more often sitting on the side of the trail reading a book.
Yeah.
People walk by and they laugh, because, I have this really relaxed approach to hiking, and the miles will come, and you just gotta, kind of pay attention to your body and treat it right. And then, so I would have to say, I really don't have any lasting repercussions.
Well,
I've always keep thinking my knees are going to wear out. I was told when I was young I have shitty knees, but I use hiking poles, and I kind of watch the way I walk so that I'm not overworking my knees, and I'm able to just putter along.
it makes sense too. I think one of the beautiful parts of having this much experience behind you and these many, epic hikes and really solid adventures is that when you get the opportunity to repeat them, you see people, my experience is on the AT, but you see people who they're almost afraid. They have this 6-month window and they better cram the entire trail into that time. And it's, it's almost squeezing the adventure out of it because it's finite, and it will end when they need to go back to work or when they need to get back to their, quote unquote real life. And sort of
Right.
the beauty of it is, it's not a big deal for you to get off and go to a festival. It's not a big deal for you to get off and go do something. It's not a big deal for you to stop and read a chapter of a book because there's no rush to get it done. And because of that, the miles come a little easier almost.
Yeah, there's no greater life than hiking, living off your back, doing it on your own terms. I mean, for me, that's always been the real draw, is just spending that time out there in nature all the time. When I was hiking in '09 on the Pacific Crest Trail, and I went to the kickoff, and I was I was hiking the state, but when I got to Walker Pass, I actually left the trail, went to Bakersfield, grabbed the bus ticket, came back to Telluride for the Bluegrass Festival. I got sniffed out by the cops in Green River, Utah for weed residue. And I said, oh, no, I smoke weed, and I've had weed in my backpack for 2 months hiking in California. You understand, but there's no weed in there now. Search away. And once he asked me what I did, I said, oh, I'm a retired corrections officer. I'm raising money. We became good buddies, and he just let me walk away. But I didn't want to take the bus back to California because I was bringing some supplies with me. So I walked around at the festival with a sign that said I needed a ride to California, and I scored one.
Nice.
And I was able to get right back to the trail at Walker Pass, right? It was amazing. And so I know you guys have the same philosophy, too, that the trail has the answers,
Yeah.
Things work out, and if you just put it out there and project it, it'll happen, You need something on the trail, you walk around the corner, oh, shit, there it is, lying right there on the path,
Yeah.
The spoon you needed,
Yeah.
So you don't have to use chopsticks made from tree limbs anymore. So, the trail has its answers, and it's just a wonderful life. And I have a very supportive wife at home now, and she sends me the best decorated boxes, My picture is all over them, and she only sends me good items. I resupply on the trail. I buy as I go.
Right.
But she sends me newspaper articles, different kind of high-calorie, sweet things,
Treats.
little cigars, little cognac bottles, and the box is always decorated with my picture. So I've gone into I went into a post office in Arizona one time, and these two little white-haired ladies said, "We've been waiting for you." and they pulled out this box, and it was very heavily decorated. Very sexy pole dancer in a fire outfit on the back. and I said to them, I said, "What do you think she's trying to say?" And they said, "She's trying to tell you to go home." So I said, "I'll be home soon."
That's awesome.
Hawkeye, between all the trails, what piece of advice do you have for someone who is either thinking about hiking the Triple Crown or just thinking about hiking their first long trail ever? Do you have some advice for them?
Well, okay, first long trail ever. I just think you shouldn't have a schedule. You should start out really slow, pay attention to your body. Be willing to modify your equipment along the way, Mm-hmm. Hopefully you've done some research before that and done some hiking too, but you'd be surprised how many people show up on the trail and have never hiked before.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen people go all the way to Canada, so you have to be willing to adapt. You just got to be willing to live day by day. I don't think you can look too far in advance, and I certainly wouldn't crunch the numbers. When you start hiking in Georgia, you're like, shit, 2,200 miles. How am I going to do this in 4.5 months, 5 months? So don't crunch the numbers. I find that my second time on the trails, I don't even do it. I don't pay attention to that shit. I know it's going to happen, so I don't think about it. I just plan my day and try to be consistent, and everything works out. So that's for the first timers. Yeah, listen to your body and be adaptable, And for people doing a Triple Crown, I would also consider flip-flopping, different ways of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
With the weather window, you have a pretty good weather window on the AT, but on the PCT and CDT, you don't have that luxury. So consider flip-flopping and jumping ahead. Like when I was in California and I left the trail to go to Bluegrass, everybody said, "Well, what about all the people you're hiking with? Your friends are all going to be 2 weeks ahead of you." And I said, "Well, I'll make new friends."
Yeah.
I call some people hand holders, the experience is the people they're hiking with, and, they bond really closely. And I form those families too, when it happens. But I'm also a soloist, so, I think you need to be flexible on those, on your Triple Crown attempts, and plus the other thing is there's no order, you could hike the Continental Divide first. I know somebody that did, and the naysayer's like, "Oh, wait a minute, you haven't done the AT, you haven't done the PCT, you're not going to make it." Well, screw that.
Yeah.
This guy went all the way.
Nice.
He went all the way with no experience his first long trail. So there's no order. Don't listen to anybody's rules on how to do it. Don't even listen to me right now. I think the most important thing is if you feel you want to do it, then just do it and make it happen no matter what it takes, and you won't regret it.
Nice.
That's awesome.
How was that?
That was perfect.
The movie Off the Hook, you can see the trailer at offthehookfilm.com. That's a fly fishing, biking, hand cycling movie. Now, when it's done playing at the festivals, we'll have the whole version up there. But right now, we just have the trailer.
Okay.
But it's an awesome. I got back into fishing recently, and this guy Jake O'Connor, he breaks his back in a construction accident and wonders if he can regain his life, that he used to have fishing in the old holes. So he's actually built his own off-road hand cycle that he's modified, and he can pedal right through the rivers now and get to those holes and catch fish too. So
that's amazing.
The whole message to that is, a life-changing disability is a big fork in the road, but it's not the end of the road.
Absolutely.
And life, it's just life, and sometimes your life changes, and you just got to roll with it. So that's what that movie's all about. That's why I get inspired by these guys and these men and women that take on these challenges, you know. And I think to myself, shit, man, I'm healthy and happy, and I got that corrections pension coming in.
Yeah, I don't see how you couldn't be
after all.
Yeah, I don't see how you couldn't be inspired by them. Like I said, I mean, just watching the as an able-bodied person, watching the trailers and looking at your website, I feel incredibly guilty about what I've done with my life. It's amazing. You're like, oh man, but go ahead.
You know, when I'm up there hurting and sweating and, you know, really in bad shape, I'm like happy that I can even feel those discomforts, you know, where some people can't.
Yeah.
They would love to be able to be up there doing what I'm doing and dealing with discomfort, but, you know, they can't. So, you know, in those moments, I just say, shit, man, I got it made. Just put that foot forward and keep going.
It makes me think of, there's the famous rock climber Tommy Caldwell lost a good part of one of his fingers to a table saw, and everybody was like, dude, your climbing career is over. And as soon as his finger was rehabbed, the part that he had left, he was just like, man, this just enables me to get holds that I wouldn't have been able to get any other way. Like, this is not that big a deal.
Yeah, that's a great attitude. You can stick that finger in a weird crack.
Exactly. You know, it's like...
Don't worry, I'm going to use that one at the end of the show.
Quote me on that one.
That's perfect. No, but you know, I mean, the things that go wrong let you do some other things right. And, just mad props for the things that you're doing to help these folks and the things that they're doing to help themselves.
Yeah, well, I think we're only here for a short time, so we might as well try to do something productive.
Good point. So what does the rest of your day look like?
Oh man, well, okay, that's a good question. Because I don't even know what's going to happen tonight, but I'm going to go into the festival here and relax a little bit, and there's some great bands playing, and then go home tonight and cram all the piles of stuff that's on the floor into my pack, and the last minute list, it's pretty hectic, that rush thing, and I sit here and it gives me a headache, so I'm just going to go drink a beer and relax.
Good deal.
The trail will have the answers, but I have a ride. I'm not sure what time it leaves tomorrow morning, hopefully not too early, and I'll get a ride back to the trail. So, yeah, I also I have camera equipment to pack.
Yeah.
I've got some new things. I'm using a stereo pin for the first time.
Oh.
All right.
So far, so good. But I also have a backup filter just in case.
Yeah.
And just the logistics of staging all this stuff is mind-boggling. But I think I can do it, and I'm happy to do it because I think the results is going to be really, really special. And, we're doing these webisodes, and they could turn into some kind of new movie. So it's all very exciting, and I think everything's going to fit into my backpack.
Can I ask?
I'll ask my ride to stop at a grocery store so I can resupply for 5 days.
Can I ask you a geeky question that I've never asked anybody on this show before?
Oh my God, I'm not ready for this.
I know, and trust me.
Do it to me.
So with camera equipment and everything else you're carrying, are you carrying like the heaviest pack you've carried in a while with this?
Yeah, definitely. Just the camera equipment. I mean, I have a small tripod, I have a camera, but I also have, CD, SD cards and envelopes so I can drop off the content, into the mail, and my partner can get it and start editing and downloading it. But I'm not too worried about carrying weight. I never really. I carry things that make me comfortable. So I wouldn't call myself definitely not ultralight. I'm midweight. I'm a midweight person. I have a homemade shelter. I have homemade things, but I also like to carry books.
Right.
Extra food in case I have to feed an ultralighter. Because they'll never turn down a cracker. You know, when you're sitting there on the trail with an ultralighter, you're like, hey, would you like ice? They're like, yes. You don't even get to say what it is. They just want it because they don't have it. So, you know, I try not to think about that too much. You know, I mean, everything is honed down as much as it can, so I just pick it up and carry it.
I have one more question for you, and we'll let you get going.
Okay.
Do you have one?
No, we're good.
Okay. Okay. So I have one more, and then we'll let you go into the festival there. Have you added any more Shel Silverstein poems to your repertoire?
Oh wow! No, I haven't. I lost interest in Sylvia Stout. Wouldn't take the garbage out, but I still have the Great Smoke out, you know, and I have the Search for the Perfect High.
Yeah.
You just reminded me, on my list there is a spot on my gear list, which is how I just check myself, you know, when I throw everything into the pack.
Right.
I do have a spot on there for poems, and I haven't really gone there yet, but I have a whole file of them. So, you know, I'm going to take your advice and maybe get another Shel Silverstein on there.
Well, I remember you entertained us. I think it was maybe 2002 with a whole bunch of trail days, and it was the great return of Hawkeye at trail days one year.
Yeah, definitely. I had remembered that because on the PCT in 2000, that's when I memorized the Search for the Perfect High. Now the trick about that is, you know, I carry the words in my pocket, and I'll walk along and read them and memorize them, and I forget about hiking sometimes. I'm like, oh, shit, how long have I been standing here looking at Oh, crap, I better get going. So, yeah, Fox, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to get another poem.
There you go.
Memorize it. I was going to say, if you want to try calling me, maybe you can get me on the trail, and when you do that animal stories, I'll tell you another animal story.
Okay.
That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
So you can try me anytime, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I should be finished with this hike August 21st.
Okay.
It's just 440 miles, so it's low mileage, but it's going to be quite the endeavor.
Yeah.
And I encourage everybody to follow me on GoHawkeye.com, and if you can, make a donation, no matter how small.
And again,
it all goes to the Telluride Adaptive Sports Program. I pay all my own expenses.
Very nice.
So none of that goes to me.
Well,
thankfully.
I think what you're doing is
I don't
awesome.
even want to do with the money. There's little buttons, you hit them, and then you could do PayPal, check, whatever. The Adaptive Sports Program does all the accounting, and I just write the thank you notes. So I like it. You know, anybody can just do that. Even if you're just doing a bake sale, you can throw up a website. It's not that expensive or something, and just promote it and raise money for your favorite charity. It's really a simple thing to do, and it's very rewarding.
That's amazing.
Fantastic. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Well, have fun, Hawkeye. It was. I can't tell you how awesome it was to talk to you.
Oh, it's great, man. We'll get together a class of '98 sometime for a program.
Absolutely.
That'd be pretty funny if we could get us all in the same room. But hey, both of you guys, if you're ever in Telluride, look me up.
Absolutely.
Will
Don't
do.
worry.
Definitely.
Well, have fun.
Take care of you and show you a good time.
Yeah, we'll come and join the Scallywag's ball.
Oh, yeah, man. That's going to be January 17th this year.
And then maybe I can actually go skiing for the first time ever.
Yeah, I'll give you lessons, dude.
Probably a lot easier to learn out there than it is here on ice. Well, dude,
I can teach you. I can teach anybody. I can teach you.
Right.
That's fine. Well, Hawkeye, man, thank you so much.
All right, hey, it was my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
All right, have a good time.
Nice meeting you on the phone there, Puss.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely.
Okay. I hope to meet you in person sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks a bunch.
Okay, thanks a lot. Take care, and I'm headed for the festival.
drink a beer for us, sir.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The title for that has to be the Scallywag's Ball. Wow.
We definitely set the record there for the most times we added the least.
It's hard to be an active listener on a podcast.
Well, that was, there was just so much to take in, and everything he said, you just kind of didn't want to interrupt too much. And even though, and the other thing is that, we kind of have a crude system to actually have a phone conversation.
What are you talking about? We're super a fish.
We'll talk to you again in 2 weeks. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook. Just search for Pox and Puss Podcast. 5-star iTunes reviews would be nice. Just saying. Subscribe to us on your phone there. And that way, every time we update, boom, it'll be right there waiting for you to listen on your hike, your work, your whatever.
Wherever you go.
Yeah.
Whatever you do.
Wherever you go, my lovely.
I was thinking, wherever you go, whatever you do.
Is that Bryan Adams?
Insert the piano. I will be right here waiting for you.
Any more, we have to pay for it.
I'll stop there.
It's okay. And, I'm on Vine.
No way.
I'm on the Vine.
Look at you, just like a young pup.
Look at me.
Holy cow.
Yeah, let's see. I'm on, just look for me, Pox Holiday on Vine. There's lots of pictures of, a lot of video of my dogs.
And
one of a sketchy alley.
At AT Puss in Boots, struggling with Twitter, as per usual.
And at Pox Holiday and at Pox and Puss. Follow all three of us. And Pinterest-ish. We have 6 followers on Pinterest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do we have anything on there?
I repinned a picture of the Appalachian Trail.
I need to just get that from you, and
Yeah.
I'll just take that over, and I'll pin shit.
Yeah. Actually, I tried to change the email address the other day, so it was yours, but it wouldn't. Yeah. And is there anything else? What else do we do? Instagram. Oh, yes, Instagram. At Pox and Puss.
Lest we forget.
Yes. And I'm also at Pox Holiday on Instagram. Is that it?
I think that's about it.
Have a great week.
Bye,
Or 2.
Bye, y'all.
Dude, he could stick that finger in a weird crack.